Hello, 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 hello. So today I have recruited Ailish, who is my English literature studying student, and we are going to be basically, how do I put this, reviewing books that ChatGPT is going to write for us. So we're going to be seeing if AI can kind of take over the book writing area. Ailish just kept going, I don't understand what we're doing, and I started trying to explain it, and she said, it's okay, you can explain it in the video. So ChatGPT is an online AI feature that is basically like a search engine, kind of, not really, but I thought we would feed it 3 different prompts, get 3 different opening chapters to novels, and rate how good of an author ChatGPT is.
Idea?
I'm clever. In these 3 lovely little things here, that's 2, just hold one. Just in these 3 different containers, we have genres, we have kind of tropes or features of different books, and then we have settings. We're going to pick out a prompt from each of these, we're going to feed it to ChatGPT, ask it to write an opening chapter, we're going to read the opening chapter, and we're going to see what we think of it. Thriller.
Okay.
That's actually my least favourite genre.
I don't really care.
Unreliable narrator.
Teenagers Thatcherite Britain.
A thriller with an unreliable narrator set in Thatcherite Britain.
Here we go. The pub was crowded and smoky, the air thick with the scent of beer and cigarettes. I found a seat at the bar, hoping to blend in with the locals.
Hang on, this is
I ordered a pint of bitter and watched the game on the television. But my mind wasn't on the match, it was on the mission that had brought me here. My name is Steve. At least that's what I tell people. I can't remember my real name. I can't remember much of anything. To be honest, my memory is shot to hell. That's what happens when you've been through what I've been through. But that's another story. The story I want to tell you is about the mission I was on. I was a spy working for the government. I don't know how I got into that line of work, but it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. It gave me a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. The mission was to infiltrate a criminal organisation that was smuggling drugs into the country. Front company to import the drugs, and I had to find out who was behind it all. My cover was as a low-level member of the gang. It was risky, but I was up for it. I'd been gathering information for weeks, running errands, doing the grunt work. I'd made myself invaluable to the organisation, but then something happened that made me doubt everything I knew.
There's a lot of exposition. That's my biggest gripe so far. Like, I liked the opening, that opening line, but there's a lot of exposition so far.
It was a dark and stormy night, as cliches go, but it's true. I was walking back to my flat after an assignment when I heard a sound behind me. I turned around, and before I knew it, I was hit over the head with something hard. When I woke up, I was in a room I didn't recognise. My head was pounding and I couldn't focus. A shadowy figure appeared, and I tried to make out who it was, but my vision was blurry. I couldn't barely see, let alone escape. The figure spoke, and I realised it was one of the kingpins of the gang. He told me that he knew who I was, that I was working for the government. He had me tied up and helpless, and he was going to do terrible things to me, and then he left me alone in the dark. That's when I started to doubt my own memories, my own perceptions. Had I been set up? Had I been duped into thinking I was working for the government, when in fact I was working for the gang? Or had the gang figured out who I was and turned the tables on me? As I sat there in the pub, nursing my beer, I couldn't help but wonder, was I really a spy, or just a pawn in someone else's game? And if I was a spy, could I trust my own memories, my own sense of reality? The more I thought about it, the more confused I became, and the more I realised that I might not make it out alive.
That started off really well, in my opinion. I think that had a really good opening. I really liked the description of the cigarettes and the beer.
After the bit when who was it? Steve. When Steve said his name was Steve, I think that's when I lost it, because I could not tell you anything that happened apart from a figure stood over them in a dark room.
It's AI, so it's going off cliches. I just didn't like the exposition.
It seemed like it was trying to do a whole story as well.
Yeah.
But in the end, will I make it out alive? No one,
like, I don't know.
First chapter of a book begins with that though.
It did feel very unnatural.
Yeah, either a first episode of a show because they rushed through things, or like a sequel to
more
a film.
Like a this is what you saw. This is what you missed last week on this TV show. I think it did the exposition badly.
Okay.
So I think for this one, I'm going to say no. AI can't write a story.
Oh, is that the question? I thought.
I don't know. I've just come up with that now.
Rating it.
We can rate it. What would you rate that?
Well,
if the entire book? Yeah, do a star rating for that one.
To be honest, probably 3.
Okay.
Maybe 2, 2, 3, 2.5.
I'd say
2.5. I think it's very generic, which I think they all will be, to be honest.
It did okay. For a robot writing a story, that did what I expected from it.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's one of the things that, you know, those competitions when we were in like year 6 and you'd enter your little story.
yeah.
Kind of like that.
So you think AI can write on the level of about a year 6?
An 11-year-old.
Book number 2, we'll see if it can write a better story in the genre of historical fiction. Fake dating in historical fiction. Maybe it will just write Bridgerton.
A rose garden.
Okay,
We might
historical
get
fiction,
Bridgerton,
fake
yeah.
dating,
Or like
rose
Tudors.
garden.
That's quite good. I think this one's really
Yeah.
good.
I always feel the need to say please, just in case, like,
Because it might be like,
robots-
no.
Yeah, no, but what if they rise up and take over the world and they'll go,
And then-
well,
well,
I'll
I
let her
remember
go 'cause she
you said please.
It was a warm summer day in the year 1821 and the Waverley Rose Garden was in full bloom. Lady Charlotte Waverley stood among the rose bushes with their delicate petals bursting forth in every vibrant shade of pink and red. She took in the sweet fragrance that filled the air and for a moment forgot her troubles. She had been summoned by her father, the Earl of Waverley, to attend a luncheon at their country estate. It was an important occasion as their family was hosting a visit from the Duke of Stirling. Is this going to be Bridgerton? There's a Duke.
I did say I think it might go for that.
The Earl hoped that his daughter would make an impression on the Duke and perhaps secure a favourable marriage match. Charlotte was not keen on the idea of marrying for wealth and social advantage alone. She was determined to find love and happiness, but her options were limited within the constraints of her privileged upbringing. As she wandered through the garden, lost in thought, a young man approached her. He was dressed in a fashionable suit, and his dark hair was slicked back neatly. He introduced himself as Lord Edward Braddock, a distant cousin of the Waverley family. Cousins!
I
Cousins!
don't like this.
Lord Edward was handsome and charming, with a disarming smile that made Charlotte's heart race. He explained
Don't like this.
He explained that he had been asked by the Earl to accompany her to the luncheon at her escort. Charlotte was surprised by this sudden arrangement, but she could not deny the thrill of excitement that coursed through her veins. She agreed to pretend to be Lord Edward's date for the day, and they set off towards the grand estate house, hand in hand. As they walked, Charlotte felt a flicker of hope that perhaps this wasn't just a game. Perhaps there was a chance at finding love. Even in the midst of false pretenses, she couldn't resist the feeling that the rose garden had brought to her, a chance at a blossoming love. Between her and her cousin.
What a cute story. Until then, I was loving that.
I thought it was really good.
But to be honest, they probably need something to jazz up the story a bit.
Same with the first one. There wasn't a lot of character in the writing. It
It's
doesn't
because
feel
like
like
there
it's
isn't
written
an
by a
author
person.
to reflect themselves on their writing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Like it's taken the tropes and it's put them in a machine and spat it out, which I suppose is exactly what we have done. I think this was
Well, you
definitely
could rip
better
off
than the
though.
first one.
Yeah.
Aside from the cousin twist.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's slightly odd.
Like that was good for them. Usually it's like a second cousin.
I think I'd probably rate that a 3 out of 5 stars. I've read a lot of books that I've thought haven't particularly had much character to them, but I've still sort of enjoyed them. I think maybe I could do the same to that, but I wouldn't choose to go out of my way to read the rest of the story.
Probably a 3.
A little bit higher than the first one.
Yeah. Like the whole setting is quite cute.
So we yet to reach 4 stars, which I think was kind of to be expected.
Yeah, I don't know
but
if we will.
I don't know if we will, because I think it's the
I
character.
think it might
of an
go
author,
down to
actually.
be honest. I'm ready for a one star. Dystopian.
A dystopian.
That's good.
But I think it's going to rely on some exposition again.
Yeah.
Should we specifically say no exposition? Underdog main character.
This is gonna be like literally the Hunger Games.
Every single dystopian
Every single one.
has
They're
an
always
underdog
from.
main
They're always
character.
from. What like
But she's
District
a
12? It's the
14-year-old
worst
girl and
one.
she's gonna take down the
Is this-
capital.
In a library.
In a library, a dystopian novel with an underdog main character set in a library.
The library used to be a sanctuary for the people, a quiet haven where they could escape the chaos of the outside world. But now it's just a shell of what it used to be. The shelves are empty, the books long gone, replaced by rows upon rows of propaganda pamphlets, spouting the same message: submit or suffer the consequences. In the midst of this desolation, a figure appears. It's a young boy, small in stature but full of fight. He's not like the others. He doesn't believe in the lies that the government has fed them. He knows that there's more to life than what they're being told. As he skulks around the empty shelf, he notices something strange. There's a small, almost imperceptible gap in the floor. Curious, he pries it open, revealing a hidden staircase leading down into the heart of the library. With nothing to lose, he descends the stairs, heart pounding in his chest. He's not sure what he'll find down there. He's determined to keep going, to uncover the truth that's been hidden from him and everyone else for so long. This is just the beginning of his journey, a journey that will take him through the darkest parts of the city, where danger lurks around every corner. But he's not afraid. He's an underdog, and he knows that with enough determination and cunning, he might just be able to topple the corrupt regime that has held their world in its grip for far too long.
That's the best one, yeah.
I like that one.
That's good. I mean, they didn't tell us very much about the world, but I think that's probably because we said no exposition for his.
He's not afraid, he's an underdog.
He is an underdog.
But he's not afraid, he's an underdog. Does that mean that he's going to be, like, that's going to save him then? It's always like saying that I'm not afraid, I'm an underdog.
People in dystopian novels are always like
underdogs,
me.
and we always
win.
They mentioned it with the dystopian genre, they said about the corrupt regime.
Yeah.
And
like,
the propaganda, yeah. But there wasn't too much else. But I don't know if I liked that or not.
Yeah, I think that was quite generic.
That's good though, because I want to know. I want to know more.
Yeah.
It's hooked me.
It's hooked me. It's got a hook. I don't think you can rate an opening above 3 stars unless it's an amazing opening.
But if we are basing it on it being ChatGPT,
so
we're not going to get much
standards,
No, but we're not going to get much better. So I might go 4 stars.
I think I'd go 3 again.
Okay.
But I do think it was better than to maybe 3.5, but I don't really do half ratings.
ChatGPT writing us openings to story. Obviously we laid down the groundworks for. We built the foundations so it could.
It was just sort of
it was us. The idea came from us.
Do you think people could ghostwrite using ChatGPT?
But I reckon if you wrote trauma, love, it would literally be a Colin Hoover book. Can you put it into there?
Should we just give it all the prompts and see what happens?
Trying to recreate Colin Hoover books on. Subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Ding!
Ailish is also, for her EPQ, coming up with a Marvel themed podcast, when's that going to come out?
I probably should film or record the episodes.
Yeah.
Probably in about a month the first episode might drop. Maybe sooner.
So thank you very much for watching. I've said that for the 3rd time now because we just keep nattering.
Just wave.
So.
Bye! What's love got to do with it? It's too late now. You sound different in your videos. Like,
It's so fake. You know what though? I only said that it's gone away. That my
I don't really watch your videos. I'll rush it in 300 words. Oh, sorry, I just spat out. Sorry.
Thanks.
Cut that.